Everybody's going to give a presentation about the assigned country, 5-minute presentation.
They basically developed an app, which was the COVID-19 tracker. Universally, it was well accepted and appreciated. And the initial versions of the application basically was very, very strongly oriented towards protecting the privacy policy in such a way that the actual medical requirement was sort of pushed towards the secondary.
They took almost the opposite steps to China in terms of privacy and so on, but still they seem to be successful.
So for every single place, indoor venues in Singapore, before you enter, you have to scan the QR code so that your movements or your timing of entering and exiting the building is recorded. And of course, all travelers have to report the travel history. There's compulsory 14-day quarantine. That definitely helped, the government to pay for a lot of the expenses on behalf of the citizens and residents. Yeah, because I believe my stay at the hotel is very costly, but it was all covered by the government.
Right, we'll see sharp contrast when you get into some other countries. So it'll be talk about those things.
Israel is home to a large number of very practicing and observant Jews. Like any major religion, a lot of the ceremonies are actually communal. That's actually very, very, very challenging. Okay, where can you make some concessions and so on in terms of like religious rituals? They actually heavily deployed tracking with mobile phones. It's voluntary. You can actually download the app. I think millions of people have done it voluntarily in Israel, which is surprising. So basically, it tracks your location, and it tracks the location of all the other mobiles with the app that came within a certain distance of you. And then if any of those people were confirmed to have COVID, then you got a message. And there has been a lot of legal rulings and challenges in Israeli Supreme Court. And the Israeli Supreme Court held that, okay, it's fine, using the app is fine given the circumstances.
So it looks like most of the countries are saying that all of those apps are voluntary. But my question is whether they were actually voluntary, because if you don't use those apps, you deprive yourself from those information that may help you.
So the reason that they don't impose, because then it becomes very difficult to defend in a country like Israel, where you can take the case to Supreme Court and so on. But they designed and they gave features such that you will be potentially benefited if you use that app. So there is a lot of, I believe, peer pressure to use it, but they don't impose that you have to use it and so on otherwise.
Their prime minister took to Facebook Live and had daily briefings to explain in both a cohesive and simplified manner how they were trying to mitigate the spread of the virus. The scientific reports and the models that they had commissioned from local universities, they made available on the Ministry of Health's website, which is still available for download and still easily viewable. This is to see how things could get worse if they did not take immediate action, but also convey that to everyone that this can get worse and let everyone decide or make their own opinion on how things could get worse based on this available data.
On April 2nd, India did set up a contract tracing app called the Arogya Setu app. However, there were a lot more privacy concerns than the apps that other people showed for different countries. First of all, one of the stark issues was the app using both GPS and Bluetooth. So it would essentially just track you all the time. Also, it was mandatory, and there were legal challenges to this. And it was not open source, so no one can tell what the app was actually doing. And there were no clear guidelines on when your data would be deleted after you were using the app.
So I just Googled and noted down the population densities of some of the countries that we talked about today. If you just think of it as an agent-based simulation, people in India would be much likely to have COVID-19 from social contraction than in Sweden.
Often as computer scientists, we may build a piece of technology and we may think, okay, we're just going to import it to wherever we want it to be. but the take-home message is that there's a religious obligations, there are socioeconomic differences, geographical isolation, clear communication. So all this can play with the way the technology would work. So what I want you to remember that once you build a piece of technology for anything like this, think about those factors, and those factors will drive whether the technology is even useful, and if it is, in what way it might be useful.